Hello everyone, my name is Matthias CZ01 and today I will be doing a Company of Heroes 1 replay review. This is a game brought to you by yours truly, me. This was a game I played about a couple months ago that I saved the replay and I kind of wanted to go over it because it was such a very interesting game. And you know me, I don't like to play games that are usually like related to the main meta, and I kind of like to fuck around a lot or do something that's a little bit different. And so this is a match that I find, or at least that I hope most of you will find interesting. So this is on the map Gilroy's Harbor, and I'm playing with my friend Jimmy here, longtime friend. And we are doing something rather unique in that we are both playing as the British on Gilroy's Harbor. And usually this is not recommended, simply because double Brits kind of struggle late game against the Germans. Usually what you will see is you'll see British playing here in the north, and in the south you'll see an American player for the most part. But me and Jimmy were always trying to experiment to do something different. And so for the early game, I'd try and go for a very hyper-aggressive move where you try and take over this footpath bridge to push the enemy.
NCOs reporting they have destroyed a German target.
It looks like my opponent was able to build barbed wire. It's been a while since I last looked at this game, so there's a few things I might not remember. So my opponent built barbed wire, and I obviously can't cross it. And this is one of the main problems with the British, is that they don't have engineers early game, so there's really no way for me to actually cut this wire. And so the Germans that we're dealing with is one Panzer Elite and one Wehrmacht here. So this is usually a pretty standard setup for the Axis on this map.
Contact report. Enemy vehicle has been knocked out.
I have the Bren gun upgraded and I stopped the enemy from capping this ammo point. What's really nice is you can actually cap this ammo and build an MG nest to prevent the enemy from taking this. And this is a medium ammo point, so it actually does hurt the enemy if they're not able to cap it.
Lead governors have been upgraded on HQ trucks.
But on the other hand, Jimmy's here trying to hold this main road section here. And this is simply because if the Germans are able to tank trap and block this section off, Allies tend to have a very difficult time actually winning on this map if the Germans are able to successfully defend this area. So Jimmy leapfrogs, he caps this point, places HQ, and immediately builds a mortar pit. And my plan here kind of backfired as I wasn't able to push across this bridge, and he's now tank trapping this. There's really nothing I can do about that. And so I'm just capping this side of the map, and I start to shift over my focus onto Jimmy's side to help him out. Germans go infantry half-track for the early game plays. So now Germans went double machine guns, so they're really just locking down this entire sector here. Panzer Elite's trying to push, but there's two Bren carriers. That infantry half-track is going to be very dead very soon. Plus the mortar pit's shelling the enemy. Yeah, that's a shame. It looks like the Panzer Elite was trying to maybe go for an early base rush to stop Jimmy from kind of fortifying here, but a little bit too late. Germans capped this sector. And this guy, Deja Vu, has really fortified this side, so it's going to be very difficult for me to break through this area in the game. But there will be some fighting over this area, rest assured. So that's really what makes this replay in particular very interesting, at least in my opinion. Build a mortar pit to harass the MGs on this side of the map. There's really not much they can do to harass this. And I place this mortar pit here because it stops packs from shooting at this mortar pit, so it's a nice shot blocker, so to speak. Yeah, the Wehrmacht tried to tank trap this area, but Bren carriers are having none of it. And so usually Gilroy's will divulge to a battle trying to fight for this main road here, and usually fighting for this hilltop. And if Germans are able to hold their ground on both, usually they'll win this map. So Allies usually are the ones who have to push as hard as they can to break the access early game. Because late game, Germans have a huge advantage. I build a machine gun here because I anticipate that when we do push in here, I might be able to decap this ammo point and deny the enemy. Enemy knows that we are definitely there. Let's see what they can see. So Germans are off to a pretty good start. Usually Brits are kind of slow in the early game. They need time to build up. Brits are usually the strongest during the mid game, in my opinion. And it looks like this Wehrmacht went Blitzkrieg, so we might see some stormtroopers. I do distinctly remember him going a lot of Stu 42s, which are very good against double Brit. And I don't know what doctrine this guy went. I can't tell from the Schirmwagen. Oh, he has mines. So he must have laid mines from the Schirmwagen, so he went tank destroyer. So we have Blitzkrieg and tank destroyer from the Germans. However, usually you want someone to go artillery on this map, so I'm assuming Wehrmacht here is going to go Stukas for some form of artillery. And Jimmy, if I remember correctly, will go Royal Artillery, while I will go something a little bit different for this map. And I believe that's Royal Engineers. Don't quote me on that. But we'll just have to see how this battle divulges into. Germans building bunkers to try and hold this area. I tried to chase that Schirmwagen, but I got baited into the mine with a damaged engine, so I think this Bren carrier is as good as dead. And I happen to OP this ammo point, and particularly this fuel point here. Well, Jimmy OP'd this point as well. So we are getting a lot of resources, more so than the Germans right now. But the enemy did OP these 2 points, so they are getting some income. And now with this decap, Germans are going to have a really tough time trying to recap this. The Wehrmacht player is going to have to go Pack 38s to dislodge this MG nest. And they went flank. Start to lay mines here because I'm fearful of the enemy going to push into the sector, but what I want to do is I also want to repair this bridge to try and push across it to maybe open up another front. Usually you don't see that just because Wehrmacht has a lot easier time defending because they can just build a single Goliath, which will blow this bridge up in one go. Panzerleut's trying to push in this area again, but Jimmy's having none of that. But a lot of infantry from the Panzerleut. And he actually went 4-man squads as well, so he must have went, yep, logistic company. So for now, Brits are just kind of stalling until Jimmy can get artillery, and then we can really dislodge these machine guns and other stuff. So we can push into the enemy. Yeah, there's a machine gun in this medical bunker. Panzer's trying to push, but he's never going to win this with the double mortar pits. Ooh. Yeah, exactly what I said. Waiting for that wipe. Nah, he runs. I also have this mortar pit here, which forced off this machine gun as well. But it also stops the enemy from capping this ammo point as well. So Germans are still defending and holding, but they don't have this fuel point and they don't have this ammo point, which really does hurt them because they get less resources for the time being. until they can actually deal with the fortifications here. Yeah, we have double the ammo right now. And so I went Royal Engineer, and now I have a Churchill, and I do finally repair this bridge. There is a Goliath, so he's already anticipated this. So what I want to do is I want to use a Churchill to cross this bridge, because the Churchill can actually crush these tank traps no problem, but this Goliath isn't going to make things easy. But I'll use the Churchill to bunker bust this fortification here, and there's not much you can do about that. I'm surprised he didn't go any Pack 38s. I don't know what his plan is. He did go Sturm Armory, and he does have the officer. Looks like for now he's just getting upgrades. Jimmy's doing pretty good. I'm pressuring the enemy on this side. And I go double Royal Engineer, and this is because the Royal Engineers can repair faster, especially with the Churchills. And here I'm trying to bait out the Goliath. So I want to use the Churchill to blow up the Goliath, but the recon sections can actually spot the Goliath because it can actually go into stealth mode if it's behind any kind of cover. I try and bait, and I think I actually sacrificed the squad so he blows up the bridge. I don't usually like sacrificing units, but I really do want to push across this bridge. So he detonates it. He doesn't have the ammo for another Goliath because I do have this ammo point, and I did get rid of the bunker, so he's got nothing to stop this right now. And I've got double Royal Engineers, which are going to really very quickly repair this bridge. So now this front's going to be open, and the Germans are going to have to deal with this now. Normally you never see allies or anybody really fight over this bridge. Usually what happens is both sides block off this bridge, and that's it. No one ever really comes back to it. Jimmy is under pressure because the Wehrmacht did try to help out the Panzer late here. So he did go his first Stu-42, and he is going to try and shell across and maybe blow up this mortar pit. Jimmy did build a 17-pounder in anticipation of this, but I'm not sure if the 17 can actually shoot through the building to hit the Stug, but yeah, the Wehrmacht fucks off anyway because he knows that I'm starting to push him here. I also OP this ammo point with this armored command truck. It's kind of a funky way how to deploy tanks. I immediately get rid of those barbed wires here with the Churchill. First Pack 38's out on the field, and he's right on this hill, which is really good for him. And I didn't know that the Panzer Elite player actually went tank destroyer, so this Hetzer actually came as a surprise to me, so I wasn't expecting that, and sadly this Churchill is as good as dead. But it did technically do its job of pushing through here and getting rid of the wires and the tank traps. I start to lay mines. I accidentally do lay a mine next to this MG nest, but I did go fortification upgrades, because Royal Engineers can really make their emplacements tougher and harder to kill. You can actually tell by looking at the barbed wire around this emplacement. So the mortar pit has it, the MG has it as well. So Jimmy's just trying to push and harass the enemy on this hill. If he can decap it, it actually helps us. Germans do recap this field point, but they can't touch this ammo point. Hetzer's trying to harass, but it's never going to kill this MG nest because it's fortified, and I've got double engineers here. So it's kind of interesting. You see the Wehrmacht more dominating on this side, and then the Panzer Elite just goes here, so very good coordination from the enemy and how they switch to different sides of the map to deal with different threats. So I want to continue to push here, I want to harass, But my main thing is I really just want to tech up and get Fireflies. So I did go command tank it first. And Jimmy right now is building his 25 pounders and shelling the enemy into submission. So the German counter push isn't really going to have any luck right here. Though I don't have anything to deal with this Hetzer, at least not yet. Fireflies coming out. Jimmy is struggling with the Stu 42 simply because Piat engineers aren't really that good at dealing with tanks like this. They're very good at destroying blobs. Stuke's trying to harass the mortar pit, but 17-pounder is having none of that. And repair bunkers are out for the Wehrmacht. So this is very smart from the Wehrmacht player using logistics to repair his tank for free. This Panzerly player is very determined to push here. The Firefly is going to really put a stop to everything right now. Hetzer's buttoned. So it looks like the Panzerly player is going down the double Shrek line, so sooner or later he's going to have double Shreks on these Panzer Grenadiers, which is going to be a problem for me because it does present a significant threat to Royal Engineer. Tank Destroyer in general really just counters Royal Engineers very hard. Huh. Firefly bounces a Panzerschreck, apparently. Jimmy starts shelling this area because I told him to, because I am a little bit under pressure here. Because I don't really have any real infantry. I just have the one infantry section, which isn't going to be enough to deal with all of these Panzer Grenadiers. But I did lay these mines, so hopefully he'll run them over. Oh, that's going to hurt. Ooh. He loses a squad because of that. Yeah, and then he runs the hell away. So I went kind of desperation Cromwell, just to deal with the infantry. Jimmy did dislodge this Pack 38 on top of this hill, which does help me a lot. And finally, the Wehrmacht player has kind of had enough of me holding this ammo point, so he's trying to use the Stu to arc his shots across the river to blow up this mortar pit and Vickers machine gun, but Firefly again is going to put a stop to that. So this is really, really annoying for the Axis. Because again, look at it. They're only making 29 while we're making 52 a minute as the British, so that's really good. Yeah, Jimmy has a shit ton of ammo. The only problem though, Jimmy, when I'm looking back at this game is doing kind of frontal assaults against a Stu 42 really isn't the smartest thing to do because, yeah, that's exactly what happens. Usually tanks and Fireflies are the best thing to deal with this, but, I mean, I do have to commend Jimmy. He is trying to push and harass the enemy on this hilltop. But he's going to suffer a lot of losses for it. I'd grab that Piat with the captain if I were you. No, I need to run. Oh, more for the Germans, I suppose. He's gonna pick it up? Oh, I guess I can't. But he does have double Panzerschreck now, this PE player, so that's going to be a huge issue for Jimmy to deal with. Jimmy actually packs up and tries to get the fuck out of there, because he doesn't really have anything to stop this. But he does resets because when the headquarters is actually in the truck form, when it's mobile, it actually takes more damage than when it's deployed. So Jimmy just calls artillery to stop this push, and there's really not much they can do. Not until the Germans can get Stukas. Hetzer's here, and then double Stugs are coming in, which is going to be a huge problem for Jimmy. I think hopefully this 17-pounder will stop them. But since they're here, trying to pressure Jimmy, I'm on this side, and now I'm pressuring them and pushing across this bridge. So you almost never see this, especially as Royal Engineer. I do go AVRE Churchill to deal with that pack, but Jimmy did already dislodge this 38. And so now I'm using the AVRE to blow up this Krieg barracks. If I do, that's actually a huge win, because Pack 38s are really dangerous against Royal Engineers. I do happen to fortify this side finally. And so Germans are really struggling. I'm not sure why the Panzer Elite player didn't tech up to go Panthers. I'm assuming since he went Logistics Company, he was trying to go for just mass infantry spam, because that tends to usually be a good tactic against Brits. And I think maybe this guy, Deja Vu, was talking to his PE player about him maybe going Panthers. But right now, I push through, I'm dominating this side. Germans are really struggling. They tried to push Jimmy, but Jimmy was able to hold. Oh, it's gonna hurt. Ooh. I insta-wasted the Cromwell. My hope right now is just to save my points and save my manpower to get crocodiles. Simply because crocodile Churchills are very good at dealing with infantry spam. The AVRE is decent at dealing with infantry, but it only has the one shot that it can fire at a time, but that's about it. The AVRE is pretty dead. Yeah. The Wehrmacht player does go Stormtroopers, trying to be sneaky with those Panzerschrecks, but entrenched infantry is going to really make this difficult for them to push out. Jimmy's now pushing here against the enemy, trying to blow up this repair bunker. Will they kill a machine gun in this bunker, I wonder? Ooh, that's gotta hurt. Looks like Jimmy placed Overwatch here from one of his artillery batteries. And so, at this point, we're really dominating. The reason why this seems a little bit, I don't know, strange, I guess, to most viewers is because nobody ever really deals with double Brit on this map. And so a lot of people tend to struggle and not know what's really the kind of the main meta counter against this. Just because you always tend to see Americans more on this map than anything else. Enemy's able to push in through here. I don't really have anything to deal with this right now, so I'm trying to back off with the Fireflies. But Croc is coming in right now, which is my saving grace. So I got really lucky with the timing here, because otherwise I would have lost all these tanks. Yeah, Croc just mops up all the infantry. That could have ended a lot worse for me, but I got pretty lucky, I think. So it looks like the German is going straight for Panthers. He might even get a Tiger as well, which might be a problem for me, but Fireflies are pretty handy at dealing with tanks, especially if there's a command tank organizing them. But the biggest problem right now is that the Panzer Elite and the Wehrmacht really don't have an answer to deal with Jimmy's arty, because this Wehrmacht player doesn't have a Kriegsbarracks to get Stukas. But on top of that, the Panzer Elite never went Hummels, he actually went tank destroyers, so I think the main failing for the Germans here is not picking the proper doctrines. I mean, Tank Destroyer and Blitzkrieg are very good doctrines against Brits, so I think they were going to win the early game, but now it's kind of in the late game phase, and they're really going to suffer for it. Just repairing my shit. Still holding the ammo point the entire game. Nothing the Germans can really do about it. Panzerschrecks are going to try and cross the river against a crocodile, which is really not the smartest thing to do. He does fire a lot of shots. Oof, damn, I almost got wasted there. Ooh, good hit. Usually having like an aviary and a crocodile is kind of the best combo. I was kind of banking on the fact of maybe having double crocs. Usually if you have 2 crocodiles, that's more than enough to deal with all these infantry. And so what you see from the enemy here, the Hetzers and the Panthers, is they're actually now doing a counter push here. I really wasn't expecting them to bite back so hard on this side. I thought they're going to push more on Jimmy's side with these stews. And so I really didn't build any mines. Second crocodile is out, which is going to deal with these Panzerschrecks. And Fireflies will deal with this Panther.
The German target has been destroyed.
So yeah, kind of funny that there's more action on this side of the map, because, you know, because of these bridges, it's really tenuous to cross it, so usually you'll see tank traps and nobody ever really push on this side or do anything. Panther's been buttoned. And Fireflies are going to have a field day. Still, but not much you can do. That 2 command tank, which is going to be very good for me. I think this PE player must have accidentally blocked the path on this Panther, which is very unfortunate. But right now, all the Germans can really do, since they're probably lacking on fuel, yeah, is they can spam Panzerschreck infantry. This PE player has a lot of fuel, but he never really teched up. He's just spamming a lot of infantry. I don't know, he seemed like a good player. Me and Jimmy, we really try and seek out players of equal skill. I mean, it is possible that he might play against other players and inflate his stats. I do unfortunately lose the field support truck. I do happen to get my 3rd Royal Engineer out, so that's a win for me technically. Because the Royal Engineers, the more tanks you have really, you kind of want to have more engineers in proportion to those tanks just to have logistic repair support. But with these double flame Churchills, there's really not much the Germans can do. Jimmy start capping on this side, and his defense is still holding here. He still even has those mortar pits up, but the 25 pounders and the priests are just shredding the enemy at this point. 1, 2, 3. He's got 4 artillery pieces. Stug's trying to push in, but there is a 17 pounder built by Jimmy to stop this, which is gonna really put a dent in this Wehrmacht. Yeah, oof. Looked painful. Yeah, he gets the hell out of there. Wehrmacht goes Ostwind, which is kind of an odd choice. I guess he did get it to deal with the infantry from Jimmy. But at this point, it's really game over. They just don't have enough armor. This guy went pure infantry, and in all honesty, nobody ever really sees Brits go Royal Engineers and never really has to deal with flamer crocodile tanks. And so I now finally push across this bridge, hopefully for the last time to finish off the enemy, but at this point, I think the Germans can kind of see the writing on the wall. Jimmy's shelling them. The Germans can't cap this ammo point, which has been ours the whole game. We might not get any resources from it, but simply denying the enemy makes a difference. Fireflies will deal with any tanks, and then the Churchills will deal with any infantry blobs, and it looks like this Panzer League player lost everything. Also, you don't usually see Wehrmacht go Sturm Armory. I guess he only built this building to get the officer to tech up faster, but you can see the veterancy on his units. He really did focus on upgrading his troops more than actually getting more forces out on the field. I would have expected him to at least get a Tiger out to deal with this, but, you know, haul down Fireflies with a Vet 3 command tank is kind of scary. But at this point, there's not much the Germans can really do. So, Churchills are pretty good. A lot of people tend to underestimate them or kind of laugh at Royal Engineers, but they can really do a lot of damage if they're used correctly. Because normally what happens is, oh yeah, look at those stormtroopers. Jesus, they got insta-roasted. Oh yeah, they're dead. As I was saying, what you usually see is the Germans tank trap this, exactly like what they did right here, though it's not complete. The Churchills can just go straight down this road and run over these tank traps. Same thing here with this bridge, though I think it got blown up by a Goliath. And the Germans had enough. They've lost everything. Stugs all got destroyed by the Fireflies. Hetzers are dead. It really looks like the Panzer Elite player was kind of the weak link here. I mean, him just spamming a lot of Panzer Shrek. Panzer Grenadiers is good at dealing with British emplacements and tanks, but not exactly when there's a Royal Engineer player that goes crocodiles, or a Royal Artillery player that uses airburst shells. And that's pretty much it. So, the Wehrmacht really tried to tech up as fast as he can to get Panthers without really getting too many Pak-38s, which was, I think, kind of their problem and their weakness, because having this MG bunker here with the mortars just holding this point really helped to drain them of ammunition, because they just didn't have enough to spend on their armies. And Jimmy kind of played really basically pretty standard on this map for Brits, usually going Royal Artillery and just shelling the enemy to death. But yeah, just something different for most people. You never see double Brits on Gilroy's Harbor. It's just not a common tactic, and it's usually more detrimental for allies to go double Brit on this map, as Germans just have to hold and defend, and they can just win the late game. So almost always you'll see Americans on this map. But I hope you guys all enjoyed, and I will see you guys on the next replay review. Also be aware I will be uploading some more videos for Co 1 on my YouTube channel. It's just that I really haven't had a lot of time to play or do other stuff. So hopefully that will change for the future. And I will see you guys all later.